Hello, it's Ricardo and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. We're still waiting on what this special feature in Elite Dangerous is going to be. It's got to be announced sometime, isn't it? But what could it be? My bets, as you know, are on base building. Base building in Elite Dangerous Odyssey. It could bring with it a wealth of new possibilities for commanders. From planetary exploration to on-foot combat in said bases, the game recently has been opened up to new avenues for immersion and gameplay. We've seen new ships, we've seen the new power play version, we've had engineering rebalances to both the materials you can get for your ships and also for the suits. So why shouldn't it be base building? Let's have a think about this. Now, there are those who argue that base building is secondary only to that of ship interiors. I argue the fact that why not have your own base somewhere where you can call home in the universe, as opposed to having an ad hoc place where you store your ships, for example, the fleet carrier. Base building has really become a staple in many open world games, offering players a sense of ownership and progression beyond the traditional grind. Now, in Elite Dangerous, such a system could dramatically alter the gameplay loop they currently have going on, and I believe would have an extra layer of immersion in there for the game, investing players in the planet where their base actually is, caring about their base, supporting their base, having that whole city builder aspect going on, making sure your base is going to be fully stocked with all the materials that you need to service other commanders. Like I say, this system could dramatically alter the gameplay and provide players that tangible goal to work towards and a personal space to customize and then expand inside the game. Now, the implementation of base building could indeed be huge, right, for this game. Increased player engagement. Base building could significantly increase the player engagement by providing a long-term goal for you to build your base. Players would have a reason to return to specific planets, gather resources, invest time in building and maintaining their base. However, there's got to be some rules put in place as to where you can build a base, what planets you can build a base on, and how far away from in-game events, such as the Jameson crash site, you can build a base away from, else people will be flocking to the areas where there are crashed anacondas, respawning materials, all that sort of thing, building a base there and having it large and making money well beyond the wiles of avarice. There's also that economic impact. An introduction of base building could have, let's call it, a profound impact on the game's economy. Players would need to purchase materials, hire personnel, invest in research, defense, aggressive tactics, creating new opportunities for trade and commerce. You could also have good social interaction, like what we're seeing in the bases, in the bar areas, on foot in Odyssey. That could also extend to the player's own base, where their own squadron and little community can meet up for virtual drinks whilst watching a sunset on a virtual world. Now, let's face it, customization could also be key here. The ability to design, personalize a base, I believe, would create that extra level of individuality. This could lead to a diverse range of base designs and also the ability for Frontier to sell base design packs, thus increasing the amount of investment that's going into what's, let's face it, a 10-year-old game, and allowing even more development. More development for the game is good, no? Now, for base building to be integrated into Elite Dangerous/Elite Dangerous Odyssey, there's going to have to be some new gameplay mechanics. Base building could introduce a new gameplay mechanic such as base defense, resource management, crafting, R&D. These mechanics could add an extra layer of depth and additional complexity to the game. But all this is not going to be without challenges, however. While the potential benefits of base building are indeed significant, I believe there are also challenges that developers would need to address. For example, the technical limitations of people's PCs, the actual game engine itself. So implementing a robust base building system would require significant technical resources to get this spun up. The game engine would need to be able to handle those level of complex building and rendering of large structures. And of course there's also the continuity of the bases as well. The balance of base building between the core gameplay loop is also crucial. Elite has always been a go out, explore, bounty hunt, pirate, trade, mine, forge your own way in the galaxy, and by adding this additional layer in now, this could overshadow these really important and key elements of the game. Then there's always player behaviour. The behaviour of players in base building systems is quite unpredictable. People are going to be raiding your bases. Are these bases going to be made so they can be destroyed? If they are going to be made to be destroyed, how is that going to financially impact the owner of the base? And with the owner of the base being financially impacted, how much does that negate you in the game? What I'm saying is that, well, how much are you going to lose if your base gets destroyed? And what's the insurance premium on getting that base rebuilt? All these things have to be considered. Not to mention server loads on the back end for Elite Dangerous. And would there be any exploits? As with any complex gaming system, there's always a risk of exploits being discovered, and the developers would have to be well on their game to make sure that anyone messing about and having an unfair advantage would therefore be penalised and removed from the game. So let's think about the base building system. To mitigate against the challenges and maximise those potential benefits, a base building system in Elite Dangerous could be as follows. You could have something around the range of modular base building. All the artifacts already in game. We've seen the artificial structures on planets. We've seen the existing outposts and even bigger settlements. And huge, massive city-like structures as well. We'd also have to have resource gathering. That's another grind in itself, really, with Frontier already putting to bed all the grind around engineering. There's a new grind coming with resource gathering that will allow you to have the materials to build and maintain a planetary base. This certainly would encourage exploration and resource management, wouldn't it? And probably even give mining a new lease of life as well. And we all know how I feel about mining. With base defense, players could build defensive structures to protect their bases from pirates and other threats. This would add an element of risk and reward to base ownership as well as that sort of micromanagement of supplies and personnel, which I think I would welcome that, to be perfectly honest with you. You could also specialise your base. It could be a mining station, a refueling station, a research and R&D station, something for manufacturing that makes something. And this would also encourage, I think, diversification and in some ways, I think, player cooperation to get certain materials based on the specialisation of that Elite Dangerous base. And then tying that into the overall progressive system in the game as well, I think would be key. Now, the potential pitfalls and solutions, there's base raiding, there's griefing. In any game there's going to be, but if the game is in solo or private mode, solo mode, NPCs, private game, well, anyone who you bring in there really. If you want it to be really griefed, have it in open. There's also scarcity of resources. Avoid resource hoarding. Resources could respawn over time and become more accessible through exploration, getting people away from their base and back out into the back. And what happens if you want to abandon that base? How does that clutter up the world? There could be a system of base decay, much like what we've seen with the fleet carriers, where there's a cost assigned to actual fleet carrier ownership. There would have to be something along the lines there as well for base ownership in the game. Now, where I think base building does have the potential to really enhance Elite Dangerous Odyssey by providing players, commanders, with a deeper sense of immersion, ownership and indeed progression, there are quite a few challenges to overcome. Now, I'm really got my fingers crossed for base building. I really have. I think it'll bring that extra element to the game. You let me know what you think, and whether like aspects like AI in base building would be a thing. Better AI interaction with the people who populate your base as well, and your NPCs that you hire. That could be an extra layer of immersion that we haven't seen yet as well. I've been Ricardo. It's been my thoughts really on what base building could do for the game of Elite Dangerous. Let me know what you think. Speak to you soon.